Hey guys, so today we are going to learn a new transformation, but first we need to go over your homework from last night, which was on translations, and it should look like this. So go ahead and get it out, and I will give you a few seconds to do that. All right, let's start going over your homework. The first problem here says write a rule to describe the transformation. Use words. So I can tell that the original triangle is the one over here, JUX, and the new one is over here, J prime, U prime, X prime, and I know that because it has this little prime symbol. So then I want to find what each value did to get to the new one. So I start with X, and I can see I want to go left to right first because that's your X value. So I'm going to go right to get to this X prime. So I'm going to go right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then up 1, 2, 3. So that is right 6 and up 3. And just to make sure, I want to check with another letter. Right 6 for J would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and up 3, 1, 2, 3, it would be at J prime. All right, number 2, I noticed that my first figure on the top, triangle BCN, is the original, and triangle B prime, C prime, N prime is the new one. So you always want to make sure that you have the original triangle first before you find the image. So I want to get from B to B prime, so I just noticed that I go do not go left or right at all. So I go directly down 1, 2, 3. And then I want to double check with C, down 1, 2, 3, and N, down 1, 2, 3. So there is no left or right, so the rule would just be down 3 units. All right, for these bottom two problems, we see that it says write the rule using the arrow notation. So this is triangle EMV, and this is the original because it doesn't have the prime symbol. So I want to get from E to E prime, so I go left or right first. So I'm going to go left 1, 2, and then I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4. So for our XY value, we are going to translate X, and we said 2 places to the left, 1, 2. So that'd be X, we would subtract 2 to go to the left. And then for our Y values, once we go 2 to the left, we want to go 1, 2, 3, 4 up. So Y, if we're going up 4, we would add 4. And we want to double check to make sure that rule works. So I'm going to try V. 2 to the left, 1, 2, and up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So our rule does work. Number 4, same thing. The original figure is the one on the top. So I want to get to the new one here. So I'm going to just do letter C because it's kind of to the side. And I noticed that it does not go left or right. So it goes directly down 1, 2. And just to double check, E, directly down 1, 2. So our rule here for our X and Y coordinates, translate X plus or minus 0. So you could just put plus 0 or minus 0 because it's not changing. But our Y value, you're going down 2, would be subtract 2. All right? And that is how you do that part. All right, for the next section, you were to actually do the transformation. So the first one says 5 units to the left and 6 units down. So you're just going to put your pencil on the first letter and count 5 to the left, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And label that A prime. P, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I went too far on that one. P prime, Q, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that's Q prime. And then S, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that is S prime. So then connect. Oop, I need to fix that one. And there, it's not perfect, but... All right, the next one, we're going to translate number 6, 1 to the left and 3 units up. So I'm going to start with E, 1 to the left, 1, and 3 up, 1, 2, 3. And label that E prime. G, 1 to the left, 3 up, 1, 2, 3. G prime. And U, 1 to the left, 1, 2, 3 up. U prime. Connect. And there is our new triangle. Number 7, we're using the arrow notation. It tells me x I'm going to add 4 and y I'm going to add 1. So on the first value, I'm just going to start with g. I'm going to add 4 to the right. So x value, that means go to the right when you're adding. 1, 2, 3, 4. And y plus 1, that means we're going to go up 1. I'm going to write that. Right 4 and up 1. All right, same thing with e, right to the 4. Sorry, 4 to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, and up 1. And I need to be labeling these. So this is G prime, and this is, I think, an E prime. All right, C, 4 to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, and up 1. So that one is C prime. And I think this is an A. 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right, and up 1. A prime, connect. All right, number 8, it says x plus 5, so that means right 5, and y plus 2 means up 2. So each point we're going to go right 5 and up 2. So start with A, right 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up 1, 2. And that will be A prime. E, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up 1, 2. E prime. And M, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up 1, 2. M prime. And there's our new figure. All right. On the bottom, you had to just write the new coordinates. So if we translate 5 units to the left, that means for x, we're going to subtract 5. And 2 units up, so y, we're going to add 2, because up means to add and left meant to subtract. So for our C prime, 1 minus 5 is negative 4. And 1 plus 2 is 3. So C prime will be at negative 4, 3. I prime, 1 minus 5 is negative 4. And 2 plus 2 is 4. H prime, 5 minus 5 is 0. And our 3 plus 2 is 5. And last one, F prime, 3 minus 5 is negative 2. And 0 plus 2 is 2. All right, I'm going to switch colors. Number 10, M prime. This time we are 3 to the left, so x we're going to subtract 3, and 3 down, so y we're going to subtract 3. All right, so negative 2 minus 3 is a negative 5, and 1 minus 3 is a negative 2. So M prime is at negative 5, negative 2. B prime, negative 1 minus 3 is negative 4, and 5 minus 3 is positive 2. So B prime is at negative 4, 2. Y prime, 4 minus 3 is 1, and 4 minus 3 is 1, so y prime is at 1, 1. C prime, 3 minus 3 is 0, and 0 minus 3 is negative 3, so C prime is at 0, negative 3. All right, for number 11, it tells us that x we're going to add 2, and y subtract 3, so we just have to do what it says here. So negative 4 plus 2 gives us negative 2. And 0 minus 3 is a negative 3. So I prime is at negative 2, negative 3. S prime, negative 1 plus 2 is a positive 1. And 4 minus 3 is 1. So S prime is at 1, 1. And Z prime, 0 plus 2 is 2. And 1 minus 3 is negative 2. So Z prime is at 2, negative 2. Number 12. We're going to add 5 to x and y add 2. So G prime would be negative 4 plus 5 is 1, and negative 5 plus 2 is negative 3. So G prime is at 1, negative 3. Q prime, negative 4 plus 5 is 1, negative 3 plus 2 is negative 1. M prime, 0 plus 5 is 5, and negative 4 plus 2 is negative 2. And N prime, negative 3 plus 5 is 2, and 2 plus negative 5, that's a negative 3. All right, next one. 13, we're going to add 7 to x and add 2 to y. So T prime, negative 5 plus 7 is 2, and negative 4 plus 2 is negative 2. A prime, negative 5 plus 7 is 2, and negative 1 plus 2 is 1. And x prime, negative 3 plus 7 is 4, and negative 2 plus 2 is 0. So there's the new coordinates. Last problem. Go back to red. X, we're going to subtract 1. Y, we're going to add 6. So for m prime, negative 2 minus 1 is negative 3. And negative 3 plus 6 is 3. For n prime, negative 3 minus 1 is negative 4. And negative 1 plus 6 is positive 5. W prime, 0 minus 1 is negative 1. And 6 minus 1, or negative 1 plus 6, that gives us a 5, positive 5. And H prime, negative 2 minus 1 is a negative 3. And negative 4 plus 6 is positive 2. All right, and I think I did those right. I did them kind of quickly, so you can check your answers. All right, next we're going to move on to, if I can find it, our new transformation, which is reflection. So pass out the papers now, and everyone find the top that says reflection. Give you a couple seconds to do that. All right, I'm going to start talking about reflection. A reflection, as you can tell, is a transformation of a figure that flips across a line. So in this figure, you can see triangle ABC was reflected across this line and became triangle A prime, B prime, C prime. But you will notice that it's kind of like looking in a mirror, where when you look in a mirror and you raise your right hand, the person in the mirror looking back at you is raising their left hand. So you notice that point A is on the left here, but on the new figure, on the image, A prime is on the right. So everything gets flipped. All right, so there's two ways you can reflect. You can reflect across the x-axis and you can reflect across the y-axis. So here we have this triangle, and you will remember that your horizontal axis here is your x-axis. So if we flip this triangle across it, it is going to go from this quadrant to this one down here. So it would look like that. And everything is backwards. And if we reflect this triangle around the y-axis, that's our vertical axis here, then this triangle is going to go from this quadrant to this one. So let's see what that looks like. And again, everything is reflected backwards. So to help you remember your quadrants, you can always remember to draw a C. And where your C begins, that's quadrant 1. The new quadrant is quadrant 2, the second one. And then it goes into the third, and then it goes into the fourth. All right, so when we reflect across the x-axis, it's very simple to do. You take your pencil and you put it on A, and you walk one space to the x-axis, because that's the one we're wanting to reflect away. So we're going to go one in the opposite direction on the other side, and that's your new point A prime. Then you go to point B, and you count how many spaces to the x-axis. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, and go 4 in the opposite direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, and there you will find B prime. Then put point C, and we're going to reflect to the x. So count 1, 2 spaces to the x-axis, 1, 2 away from it, and that's the new point C. If you look closely at the numbers, you can see that point A was at negative 2, 1, and A prime is at negative 2, negative 1. So the x value stayed the same, and the y value simply switched to its opposite. If you look at point B, it was originally 2, 4, and B prime is 2, negative 4. So the x value stayed the same, and the y value changed to its opposite. So it's just kind of like multiplying the y value by negative 1. All right, let's look at what happens when you reflect across the y-axis. Here's an example. And the y-axis, remember, is your vertical axis. So our original triangle is over here on the right. And triangle A, point A is at 2, 2. So if we count how many steps it takes to go to the y-axis, 1, 2, count the same amount away, 1, 2, and there is our new point A prime. Find point B, count how many to the y-axis, the one you're wanting to flip across, 1, 2, 3, 4. Same amount in the opposite direction, 1, 2, 3, 4, and there is point B prime. Do the same for C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Same amount of spaces in the opposite direction, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there's C prime. Let's look closely at those coordinates. A was 2, 2, and A prime is negative 2, 2. So this time, the y value remained the same, but the x value switched to its opposite. So the 2 became negative 2 in the first. Let's look at the coordinates for C. So C was 5, 1, and C prime is negative 5, 1. So again, you can see that the x value switched to its opposite, or multiplied by negative 1, and the y value stayed the same. So that kind of will help us with our rule. Oops. All right, so let's do this one together. First, let's reflect it across the x-axis. So here is the x-axis. Remember, it's your horizontal. So we're going to start with point A, and we're going to simply walk how many spaces it takes us to get to the x-axis. So count 1, 2, and do the same amount on the other side, 1, 2, and label that A prime. Then find point B. Count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces away from the x-axis, so it goes 6 in the other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that will give us B prime. Then do the same thing for C. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Count again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that is C prime. And we can connect the dots and see that is the reflection of that triangle across the x-axis. Now let's go back to the original and reflect it across the y-axis. So this time we're going to go across our vertical axis. So start with your pencil on A, and we're going to count how many spaces it is to the y-axis. 1, 2, 3, 4. Count the same in the opposite direction. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this will give us point A prime. Do the same with B. 1, 2, 3, 4. Count. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that is B prime. And then C. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And this is C prime. Connect the dots, and that is how you do a reflection. And that'll be C. Let's do prime prime, since that's kind of our next one. And that will be how to reflect across the y and x using a coordinate grid. All right. For your practice, you're going to practice this. You're going to write the original coordinates and the new coordinates. But I also want to go over this one more time on the rule. So if you go back up to the top on your notes, you will see where it says reflect over the x-axis. So we had decided that when we looked at the coordinates, the x value stayed the same, and the y value was the one that changed. So let's write a rule for reflecting across the x-axis. So right here where it says across the x-axis, let's write the x is going to stay the same. So you just keep your x value, but our y value is the one that switched to its opposite. So we're going to put opposite y. So when you apply the x-axis rule, you know to keep your x value the same as the original, and then the y value, you simply just switch it to whatever its opposite was. So if we weren't given a graph and they said reflect the point -2, 1, we would know that -2 would stay the same, and that we would simply multiply 1 to its opposite, so the new point would be -2, -1, and we wouldn't even need a graph. All right, same thing for the y-axis reflection. For this one, our rule is going to be that our x value is the one that changes. If we look at point C, we see the original point was 5, 1, and C prime was -5, 1. So in this case, the x value is the one that switched. So we're going to say you switch your x to your opposite or opposite of x, and then the y value simply stays the same. So if they said flip the point, reflect the point -3, -1 across the y-axis, we would simply say, okay, well, the x needs to become its opposite. So the opposite of -3 is +3, and the y value just stays the y value. So then reflected would be 3, -1. So that's how you do it without a graph. All right, let's look at the guided practice. For this one, it just wants you to reflect across the indicated axis. So for number 5, you're going to reflect across the x, label your new points with prime symbolization, list your original coordinates, then list the image coordinates. Same thing for number 6, except for you're going to reflect across the y-axis, which is your vertical one. Make sure that you draw your new figure here with the prime notation, and that you list your original coordinates and your new coordinates. Independent practice, same thing. And I believe that on this part you can do it by yourself. You can just fill in the blanks. It says you'll reflect across the y-axis, the x's become opposite, the y stay the same. You can do those two problems. I think it's A and B on your paper. And then the same thing for here. When we reflect across the x, the y becomes the opposite, the x stays the same. And those are problems A and B for that one. Fill in the blanks. And then at the bottom, it just has you reflecting these across the axis indicated, so you only have to write the coordinates. All right? Okay, guys, you'll finish that up today. If you don't finish in class, it's for homework, and I will see you later. Thank you.